When I am in a city for a long time, like in residency, the first thing I went to, the first place where I went to are shops, like everybody, because you have to buy stuff for your living, and I had to buy stuff for the studio. And for me, it's almost always a point of departure for a trip in my work. For example, here in Wedding, there is few shops, but there is this kind of huge discount shop. And when I went there, it was quite strange for me, because in my home country, I never really went to this kind of shop. And I was interested, I don't know why, but I have this feeling that it was the winter and early spring, but still very cold. And I have this feeling that the people, it's not a feeling, it's true, is that the people go there to have the very rudimentary thing for living, for example, for food and clothes and thing for the domestic life. And so I decided, I don't know really why, but I decided to buy food and to buy some fabrics, very ordinary fabrics, but kind of fabrics that you use for furniture or curtains, domestic fingers, not the kind of fabric you use for clothing. And I decided to stretch this fabric on canvas and to put the food on the surface of the canvas, to have these two things really different but recorded to the body together. And then I was not in the studio for a few days, and when I come back, a lot of the food was dried. And in fact, it was quite interesting to have something kind of anthropologic, the way that people, some things that the people use for their own life here, and to put that together and to have a kind of situation in this square, which was really like a landscape, because it was dry, because the air is really dry in Berlin regarding where I live usually. And I will never have that in Belgium where I live, because it's so wet. But here it was so dry, so I have this surprise to discover things like this white thing here. When I use copper or silver or gold, sometimes it's sometimes false, sometimes it's different. It's like dust of this material. For me, it's not symbolic. I want it to be really wide. So I begin the process of doing that, this fold of precious matter are usually put on solids or not on soft material, and I put them on very soft material like fabric or blanket or piece like that. And for me, it's not symbolic. It's more white on that, because I wanted to have this feeling of materiality who will maybe change and become different, become darker or greener. If it's about copper, for example, the gold will stay more or less like it is. But there was this contrast between this thing which is really precious, which is used for decoration, and to put it on a very mundane object like a blanket. It's never new blankets, it's blankets that I found in flea market. And it's a way to make, for me, a kind of enlightenment of the object. And maybe some people can see a kind of religious thing, because gold, for example, it was used, and it's still used in Orthodox painting. So that's a way to see it. Yes, it's really a strange object for me, a flag, because it's only a piece of fabric and a hole. So I decided to buy this long black hair, which will not be for my use, obviously, and I hang them on a corde à linge, on a cord outside for the clothes. And so it was vertical, and I really like it to see it in the wind. And then I think, of course, it's like a flag. It's only that it's on the other side. So I decided to show it, to do a flag with that. And in the meantime, I was reading the writing, the novels, and the essay of Edouard Glissant, which he is from the Martinique, and he's buried there. And I wanted to see his grave. And on the road to go to this small village, I stopped at a memorial, and there was this memorial on the beach. And there, in the early 19th century, there was a ship with slaves who broke on the rocks, and there were 300 or more. I don't really know, because they didn't know it was not. It was a kind of pirate boat with slaves, and so all these people died there, and it was really moving for me. And to write on the same time the book of Glissant. And so I decided, yes, this flag here makes really sense. So I went to this place, this specific place, to shoot this flag with air. And yes, you can say that it's politic, but it's also anthropologic, and it's also a little bit erotic, because it's hair. So to make a flag with air, you can also, because air are of course really erotic. It's something that is not. There is a reason why in some culture you hide your hair, I think, because it's really an erotic part of the woman and the man. And so you can see it in different point of view. If you know where it was done, it makes sense, because it's a village of Edouard Glissant. It's a place with this boat, and it's a kind of. There is a kind of echo with what happened in the Mediterranean now. But when I did it, to be honest, it was only I wanted to do this flag with air, and it's only after that I put everything together, and I was able to understand what I did, really. But it was only intuitive at the beginning.